along with Bob Porter of the 6th Floor Exhibit. This interview is part of the Oral History Project of the Dallas County Historical Foundation. Today we're interviewing Bill Cooper, who was Executive Vice President of the Dallas Market Center, which included the Dallas Trade Mart, at the time of President Kennedy's visit to Dallas in 1963. First, Bill, thank you for agreeing to the interview today. We're going to be on a first-name basis. We've known each other for a long time. And for the record, if you will, please give us your full name, date and place of birth, and a summary of your career.
Wes, it's always good to be with you.
Thank you.
My name is William Edward Cooper, but everybody knows me as Bill. I was born October 16, 1921 in Wichita, Kansas. My career is rather easy to sketch. I was a paper boy for 4 years, had one of the biggest routes in Wichita, Kansas. I worked my way through college on a night shift at the Beach Aircraft Factory, starting in 1939, and in late 1942 I enlisted in the Army Air Corps, Army Air Force, I find, and went through cadet training, checked out in B-17s with a crew, was moved from that into the left seat of a B-29 and went overseas as a B-29 co-pilot. I stayed in the combat zone for a year.
This was in Europe?
No, it was in Guam,
in Guam,
in the Pacific, Asiatic Pacific. And in October of 1945, after the war was ended, I was made co-pilot to the wing flight test pilot, who was a colonel. And a month later, he went home, and I moved up as wing flight test pilot and served in that role until May of 1946 when I came home. At that time, I went back to finish my college because I had a year and a half yet to go, and went to work for the Western Lithograph Company, a very fine color.
Where was college?
Wichita, Kansas. Wichita University.
Wichita University.
It's now called Wichita State University. And I had to pay my way, so I had to have a job, and although the GI Bill sure helped. And so I went to work for the Western Lithograph Company, which was a very fine color lithographers, printing mostly advertising literature. And I started a production planning department for Western. And in 1949, they transferred me into the sales department and told me I was on a training program to become chairman of the company. In 1952, I was transferred to Dallas to open a Texas division office. And in 1956, after 4 very successful years, the boss called me and said, "I want you to come home now. I'm ready to move you in as my assistant." I said, "I'm not ready to come because I love Dallas too much." In 1958, the Otis Wells was his name, wrote me and said, "You are coming September the 1st. And I went home to my wife and we talked it over, and I wrote him back and I said, "No, I'm not. I quit." And as I was mailing that letter, I bumped into Trammell Crow, and told Trammell was my landlord. And I said, "Trammell, I'm not going to be your tenant anymore." And I told him why. He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I have a contract with Western Lithograph, and for 1 year, I have to get out of the printing lithographing business. So I think I'll try to go to work for one of the banks." He said, "Bill," he said, "don't do that. Go to work for me." Trammell had built the original Decorative Center, which was 4 buildings, and had built the original Home Furnishings Mart, and I had printed the brochure for him on the Furniture Mart, and the Trade Mart was under construction. And he said, "Bill, I'd like to have you come out and run that operation," which I did, and I did it for 25 years. And I retired in January 31st, 1983, have spent the last 11 years doing civic work. My most recent job was Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, and I was chairman of the board for 2 years and just got off that board in February of this year.
Bill, your background as a civic leader has been well known, and you recounted that you're doing that almost full time now. But back there, what was it attracted you and made you want to be in Dallas? What made you want to be a Dallasite?
Oh, Wes, I just thought Dallas was the most beautiful city I had ever seen. It glistened. It was a well-diversified city. The economy, my major in college, by the way, was economics. The economy was very well diversified. The attitude of management, labor, the state laws were very, very friendly to business. We didn't lock our doors to our houses back in those days at all. I felt it was a good place to raise my kids. And above all, Dallas was what I called an open city. You could come to Dallas knowing nobody, having no money, and be whatever you wanted to be. And there was no holds barred at all. I have found throughout my life that I was welcome wherever I went, and that was pretty much the case of Dallas in those days, and I think it still is today.
In 1963, what were your general duties in relation to the Trade Mart where the president was to have come? Now, I'm going to ask your specific duties on that day a little bit later. What were your general duties?
I was the general manager. I carried the title at that time of executive vice president, but I was executive VP and general manager, which meant that I oversaw or did the leasing, oversaw or did all the hiring, firing. I had to make the payroll and make the note payments of the Trade Mart, the Home Furnishings Mart, the Market Hall. The Apparel Mart was not yet built, but it was under construction, and the Decorative Center. And that was my job.
One of the things that has come out in these various interviews we've had is the fact